right, it is Monday on Daily Delivery. Michael Rand here. Patrick Reusse joins me as usual. Patrick, how you doing?
I got my fall cold a little late this year, so it showed up yesterday morning, and I got a little tickle, and I said, "Oh, here it comes!" And there's nothing you can do to stop it. I dedicate myself to taking zinc after I get over these things, but that lasts about 3 days, and then I just forget. Then here comes the cold again. But what the heck? I'm outside of that, I'm fine.
We'll
So.
take it. We'll take it easy on you today. We'll try not to stretch the vocal cords too much, but we get some stuff.
Nothing to get too worked up about today and get too loud about, so we'll be okay.
Yeah, I'll believe it when I see it. You'll find something. But I think we'll start with the Timberwolves today. I want to talk some Gophers and some Wild as well, just because it's a lot has happened since you and I talked last. But you wrote the other day, this is an interesting thing, that the Wolves had of the major teams here that play, these kind of lot of games every month. Out of the Wolves, Wild, and Twins, the Wolves had the best month ever in Minnesota sports history when they went, what was it, 13-2 in November, 13 wins, and they picked right up where they left off. They beat Charlotte the other night, so they're 15-4 overall now. Patrick, I mean, it's amazing.
It's pretty astounding. Yeah, Opta Sports came up with that, and they included the Lakers and the North Stars in that too.
Okay.
So the all the NBA teams, all the NHL teams, and the Twins, and yes, and they now they I have a real problem that they include the Wild in there at 12-2-2 because there's two losses there.
Yes.
That the percentage, but. Yes, it was somebody actually made me aware of this. I don't check Opta Sports on a daily basis.
No,
so
I wouldn't think so.
But yeah, it is 13-2 for the month. It's pretty incredible. And then they came out in Charlotte and they kind of messed around, and then they managed to play all three big guys together at one time. We wondered how they were going to play two together. They were playing three together for a while on Sunday, and ended up that was Saturday, right?
Saturday.
And they pulled away late and won the game. And the Rudy and Cat seem to have a real kumbaya going now too, right?
Yes.
It was,
I think so. Yeah.
It reminded me, I had forgotten. I mean, I knew it happened, but I'd forgotten that game 82 last season, Rudy and Kyle Anderson getting a dust up.
Yes.
Rudy gets sent to the locker room and suspended for the first play-in game in L.A.
Yes.
And that is the same day Jaden McDaniels punched the plastic tarp and ended up having a wall behind it and broke his hand.
Yes.
And I actually went and checked that out the next time they were home to see how he did that, and there was a wall behind the tarp. So that was, I think we changed that. So anyway, it is quite a transformation in the whole attitude of this team, and I think Finch, who's one of those guys that's just all his mind is totally basketball. With help from their 9, analytic people and assistant coaches and stuff. I think they spent the whole offseason figuring out how they could get these two guys to play together and what they could do, and it seems to be working. And the secret is, don't ask Rudy to do too much offensively, but if you get a chance to lob the ball and let him dunk it, do that. But it's we're not seeing Rudy's moves in an attempt to, throw it into the post and have him make a move, have him kind of slide in there and dunk and get the rebounds and block shots. And Charlotte played pretty good, made a lot of shots, and that was a game you could have lost, and they ended up winning that one too. Now they got a couple more of the lower teams coming up this week, so we'll see. Boy, there's some NBA teams struggling. Huh? Detroit, 17. Detroit has lost 17 in a row.
Unbelievable. Huh.
Somebody else has lost 14 in a row. Who the heck is it? Somebody else's. I mean,
There's some
well,
bad teams.
San Antonio,
Yeah.
I think, has lost
Yes.
14 in a row or something. So the big 7 foot guy apparently now somebody should tell Pop you can't have the number one 2 years in a row, right? Don't haven't they changed that?
Oh, I don't know. That's a good
I
question.
thought they
I don't know if
changed
they
it.
changed that.
I thought
Okay.
they made it harder to
Huh.
tank anyway.
Huh. Well, the thing I see all the time now is you go on social media after a Wolves win, especially one like Charlotte the other day, and people are saying this is a game they would have lost last year. I've seen that like 6 or 7 times this year. This is a game they would have lost last year. And I think your point about Rudy is a good one. I think when they got him in here, they were like, okay, we know what he can do. Let's see what else he can do.
Yes.
Let's try to make him into something he's not. There was even I feel like there was even like I don't know if it was in jest or if it was like a real thing, but like there was like practice footage of like Gobert like shooting corner threes and stuff like that. I'm like, that's not Rudy Gobert's game. Like, don't make Rudy Gobert into a modern big man. Rudy Gobert is an old school big man. I will shoot it from about 4 feet in. I will block
Uh-huh.
shots. I will get rebounds. And I think now that they've kind of figured out that you got to play to his strengths, and they got Mike Conley here instead of
Yes.
D'Lo.
D'Angelo. Yeah, I'd forgotten that D'Lo was making excuses for his lack of assists by saying Rudy can't catch the ball.
Yes, that was about this time last year. I think Hein pointed that out in his game story the other day.
Mhm. Whenever people try to give Gerson Rosas some credit, all I do is, because he got rid of Wiggins. Okay, beautiful.
Mhm.
Got rid of him, but he got that other stiff in here. So that mess had to be cleaned up to get rid of D'Angelo. And it's funny that even though we traded his best friend in life, the only guy, that D'Angelo, he and Cat and D'Angelo, oh, they're such good friends. This will be great. Let's get him in here. I think Cat's very happy that D'Angelo isn't around anymore and that Michael Connolly is running the operation. So, and it is interesting. The other thing I find interesting about the modern NBA is you wonder who the backup point guard is going to be, but then you find out, yeah, they don't need one. Kyle Anderson handles the ball. Ant, when he's playing, handles the
Yeah.
ball, and they can play long stretches without a second point guard. Now there's Shake Milton, though. I
Yeah.
got a theory. I got a theory here.
Okay.
You know that there were two Miltons in Philadelphia. I think they gave us the wrong one. I think it's not the one we wanted. We got the other one. Jake doesn't do much for me, to say the least.
No, he's
But that Troy Brown, who looked like nothing there early in the year, he wasn't playing. He's helped bail him out in a couple of games too. So it's a pretty good operation right now. That's for sure.
yeah. I mean, they're winning without McDaniels, who's got that little injury. They would have win without Edwards these last 2 games. I don't think they do that last year. So I think you got to mention Nikhil Alexander Walker too. It's just
Yeah, right.
kind of a
He
nice
had
find. You realize they got him and Conley and 3 second-round picks in that D'Lo trade. That was a pretty good. That was a pretty good trade.
yes.
I'm gonna have Tim Connolly on the show later this week, and I'm sure we'll revisit some trades. But that one was definitely one in his ledger that's worked out really well.
And a year from now, look out for Miller. Uh, my basketball guy,
Leonard Miller, yeah.
Leonard Miller, my basketball guy, Terry Kunze, who watches games from all over the universe. He's possessed by it. When last time I was talking to him, he made a point of telling me he'd seen this kid a bunch and really liked him. Here, I was thinking about this though. Now, the other day, this kid, what's his name, that spent 2 years in Houston, this backup point guard, Dean Nix,
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah. Next,
Now,
yeah.
now he comes in, and I said, okay, what's the story on this guy? Well, he was, in Houston. They let him go. He hasn't really done much, but Finch was asked about him, and they have an explanation why they went and got him.
Yeah.
He basically had seen him in in camp. He played for that Ignite, the Ignite team, and they're kind of trying to scrounge these guys up. The second round, Leonard, the Millers, people think he's going to be a player. Next is, they got rid of that Matt Ryan to make room for Nix as a point guard. And the other second rounder they got was Jalen Clark, who was supposed to be a defensive phenomenon, who was available because he was injured and he's in the second round. So they stashed him. So it looks like Connolly's pretty good at finding these secondary guys, who might end up and develop and might not. But there's a method to the madness. They aren't just throwing darts at the wall. There's the guys they're bringing in to be the 14th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th. The guys are people that they think have a chance. So he must know what he's doing, even though I thought I never imagined the Rudy Gobert trade being a success, but maybe it is. The whole idea for making it would be that you'd have lousy draft picks anyway, right? You'd be in the bottom 10, so might work out. Because really, what's the difference between 31 through 45 compared to 21 through 30? Well, you get a lot of first rounders that the good teams ended up drafting some guy that gets stashed in Europe for 2 years and stuff like that we've never heard of. So anyway, it's looking good right now. And to go online and go look at other places and see all this positive vibe on the Wolves is just like it's an alternative.
It's jarring. I mean, they're tied for the best record in the NBA right now with the Celtics, 15-4.
And they beat and they have the tiebreaker. They beat the Celtics. Right?
They beat the Celtics, beat the Nuggets. They beat the Warriors twice. I mean, they've impressed. Yeah. They're impressive right now.
They are better than the Warriors. I think they are better than the Warriors. I
think so too.
The Warriors is old.
Yes.
Klay Thompson's a shadow of what he was making. You're paying him $50 million and he's a shadow of what he was after all those injuries. So, it's an interesting situation to say the least. Have him back. I always said my motto for the Wolves was even when they do the right thing, it's the wrong thing. But in this case, it's looking pretty good.
Yeah, it is. And they've got like you said, they've got some easier games coming up. They missed the play-in tournament though. Somehow they went 3. Yeah, that's good. Probably they went 3-1 in their little group play, but that's not good enough. I guess that's a weird format. I don't know.
But you get to play you get to play Memphis and San Antonio instead of two decent teams, right?
That's true. They'll play them eventually.
Somehow the Pelicans ended up in the field, for goodness sake. So
it's silly. It's silly.
The whole thing's silly, but they must be holding out for a lot of money for a sponsorship for this thing, right? So,
I would think so.
They just call it the in-season tournament.
The in-season tournament.
Nobody's met the price for it to be the Chevrolet Cup or something.
Right. Right.
Anyway.
Grand Casino would like to take a moment and salute the true football fan. The passion, the hope, the anticipation, that incomparable feeling of winning. Grand Casino would also like to take a moment to remind you that you can find all that anticipation, thrill, and winning at Grand Casino. Grand Casino, let your story begin.
Patrick, let's shift gears a little bit. I think you should take a victory lap here for the Wild. I mean, the Turkey of the Year, it's about 10 days ago now. And then 4 days later, they fire their coach, Dean Evison. And since then, they can't lose. Like, I feel like they owe you a debt of gratitude for jump starting. When someone's Turkey of the Year, they can't just sit idly by and let themselves continue to lose.
That is exactly right, because as I always say, the Turkey of the Year is undefeated. If you remain rotten, then you're a turkey. But if you get motivated, like Fleck, the year he won it, 2 days later he beat Wisconsin.
That's right.
For the first time. You think they would have beaten Wisconsin if I hadn't jacked him up? Hell no.
And
So
was it the year after that they went 11-2? Must have been, because
yes,
that win
that's
over
right.
Wisconsin was the one that jumpstarted. You jumpstarted the Gophers. Like you did the
Yes.
Gophers. Now you got the Wild. Man, you're on a roll. So
man, we're scored. As the Turkey chairman, I would have said, you know what you got to do? You got to score more goals, and that's what they've been doing.
That's smart.
Right off the bat, right? By the way, 3 again yesterday in the first period, and I think they had 2 games in a row in the first period, and they kept scoring on their road trip.
But, they got 6 against Nashville.
Amazing. It is amazing. I remember when Boudreaux first went to Vancouver last year, they were like the worst team ever. Or 2 years ago, I guess. Was it 2 years? Yeah, he got fired. 2 years ago, he goes out there, and they for like 2 months, they're unbelievable.
Right.
Then they went to tank again. He got fired the next year. But it's funny if some guy goes into the room and gets them to more than any sport. I guess it's effort, don't you think?
Yes,
because it's because you're only playing to 3 or 4. So it's if you're working a little harder and get 1 extra goal, that's a big determining factor in hockey. And This guy's a noted fixer. When he went to Nashville the first 2 years ago, was it 2 years ago?
That was a little while. I think it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, 2-3 years ago. Yeah.
And right away they had the big jump start. And then I think, it was the COVID year, actually, because they got shut down.
Yeah.
But when they first got there, they started winning. He's a pretty smooth guy. I was over at his opening press conference, and he seems pretty sharp. And he and Guerin go back to when he was when Guerin was it in Pittsburgh? Guerin was in the front office, and this guy was the coach of their
the minor league team, the AHL team. Yeah,
the AHL team. So they go back to there apparently. In fact, Guerin was talking about him like Guerin he was working out. He was at the thing in Ann Arbor, I think, or Kalamazoo or wherever it is the
prospect camp.
The prospect, the things with the young players, and Guerin was working out there or something. I don't know. It was a weird story, but this guy let Guerin work out with that team while Guerin was in a holdout or something. So they're buddies. I think if you want to be a Guerin buddy, you got to sit down and have a beer, though, right? And talk. It's
good to be a Guerin buddy. It seems like too. It's good to be on his. Good to be on his side. Was it in your Boudreaux column or the column that you wrote something about NHL coaches? It was like a 4-year contract but a 2-year message.
Yeah, that was always Glenn Sonwar's quote about Jacques Demers. Jacques Demers was he's got a 4-year contract and a 2-year act.
That's great. I love it.
He always said, and but it is it is phenomenal that. How often it happens and how they get changed. And, as I said, this guy's only been fired twice. He's almost a freshman. Some of them get fired 4 or 5 times. My favorite hockey thing ever was the 24/7 with the Rangers and Flyers before the New Year's Eve game, when it was a big New Year's Day game. Yeah. The outdoor game. Yeah. HBO had a 24/7, and the 2 most foul-mouthed human beings in the world, Lavalette and Tortorella, were the coaches, right, for the Flyers and the Rangers.
Perfect.
Now they are coaching the opposite teams.
That's right.
The opposite teams. It's unbelievable.
There's only
how could anybody think Tortorella was the answer? The guy's the most miserable human being of all time.
Well, because there's only 48 NHL coaches, of all time. I think all time there's only been 48 coaches. They just keep moving them through.
It is amazing how they do it. It's hilarious to me. I mean, Yo was my God, he hasn't coached anywhere, and they're bringing him in here. They brought him out of the
minor league system. Yeah.
He only got back once, though, right? With St. Louis.
St.
That's
Louis,
it.
did he?
Did he get another job?
I
don't
can't
know. He
remember.
got back
I'm
once.
gonna look now that we're talking because I feel like he might have
Did
gotten.
he beat? Was he coaching when they beat him here with Jake Allen? Was he the coach? No, I don't think he was.
Oh, man.
When they
My
beat
history,
that good.
my history gets fuzzy. I think he might have been the coach then.
Yeah.
Let's see. He's been.
The last good Wild team that Jake Allen beat was that was the last really good team they had that failed, that flamed out in the playoffs. I think the one that they lost in 5 games here to Jake Allen went crazy, and the next year he couldn't stop a beach ball. It was amazing. That's the other thing. Goalies in hockey too are like, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. But this guy put Gus back in the net and said, "Start stopping the puck again." That was a good strategy.
Great strategy.
Instead of letting them in, don't let them in anymore. That was great. That was really great. So
Mike Yeo was an interim for 60 games in Philly in 21-22. So he's had
that was a Fletcher hire then.
He's had 3 bites at this. Yeah. So he's
Fletcher was running the Flyers then, right? So
yeah. Well,
he got fired too. He got fired about 4 times too.
We all got mad at Mike Yeo, but the Wild have only advanced in the playoffs 3 years, and he was the head coach for 2 of them.
2 of them, yeah, that's true. I didn't mind him. I thought he was, he remember the first year he comes here, the first 30 games of the year, they had the best record in the league. The last 52, they won terrible. 7 games. Yes. They won 7 games in regulation. Oh, I remember that stat. They won the last 52, they won 7 in regulation. So
out of the last 52, they won 7 in regulation.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
52. Yeah. It was.
Yeo was the coach in the 2017 playoffs when the Wild lost 4-1 when they made Jake Allen look like the second coming of Patrick Waugh combined with.
I'm thinking one thing though, if you get Boldy going a little bit, he's had at least one. He had 1 or 2 goals since then.
He hit one. He had one yesterday, I think. Yeah,
Rossi had a bit. The one that shocked me though was Jake Middleton. He was like the second coming of Harold Snaps. He was awful. And then all of a sudden he's scoring goals and flying around. And,
Connor Dewar had a hat trick the other day.
Yes,
what's going on? What is going on here? Connor Dewar, he's a fine 4th line center, but that's not usually the guy you're going to get a hat trick from. Yeah, it's amazing. It's not just a hockey phenomenon though. It's every sport where you get a jolt from a new voice. And it doesn't make any sense. These guys are professionals. It's not like they're coming in here with a completely new idea. They're not reinventing hockey or when they fire a basketball coach. It's just
I would say it works better in hockey than
it does though. Yeah, it does.
You're not. I mean, if you're a bad NBA team, you're a bad NBA team.
Yes, that's true.
You can do about it. So, and then of course the other thing about the NBA is Utah last year at this time of year looked like they were heading for the playoffs and looked good. Now they're tanking. They're trying to get. They were playing a bunch of guys the other day. They started 2 guys who were on 2-way contracts when they played them here.
Yeah,
and they're Colin Sexton. They got him from. I take him as my backup point guard. And he's not playing there, so he's not starting for them. So I don't know what they're doing, but. I guess they count on the faithful to, and they're trying to, get a high draft choice. But it's the NBA always thinks they can come up with solutions for tanking, but they really can't. So,
Gopher football, Patrick. Only 2-0 team in Quick Lane Bowl history. They're putting it on the line. Right. Can they go 3-0 in the Quick Lane Bowl?
And we can also remain our unbeaten status as a 5-7 bowl team.
True. That's true.
Didn't Tracy Clay's team when Tracy was coaching there? That's when he took over for Kill, right?
Yes.
Halfway through the season.
Correct.
And that was who they beat? They beat some
Central Michigan, maybe
in a battle, 5-7.
Yeah.
And I saw they were talking about the good attendance they had with the Gophers. In other words, they lied more for the Gophers than for any other team. They lied more. They went out in the streets and let people in. But
the day after Christmas in Detroit is not really a destination.
This is I said Steve Urban's rented a prop plane with 8 seats for the Gophers.
Creative charters.
For creative charters, he can be creative. I don't care what they tell me.
You're just sending a hot air balloon with 2 people.
Yes, right. Yes, Steve, just pack it in, Steve. But it gives them a chance to prove that loss to Bowling Green was a fluke.
Yes.
And they lost as 30.5-point favorites.
That's unbelievable.
The second biggest upset in Big Ten history. I think Appalachian and
Michigan.
The Gophers had another one where they were highly favored over another team. I can't remember.
And that turned out to be a decent Gopher team. They won like 9 games that year.
Yeah, they did. How the hell they lost that game? It was unbelievable. 14-10, right? Or 14-7 or something?
I think it was 14-10. Yeah.
I wanted to watch it. I was in a car. I was driving back from someplace. And I said, this is impossible. They couldn't do anything. Then they ended up having a fairly good year. But that's the power of the Big Ten West. Boy, are we going to miss the Big Ten West.
Yes.
Yeah. How about this? Iowa. I saw a website that said one of these places that takes exotic bets that the over and under for the first half and the second half, which you could bet in advance on Iowa, was a 0.5 point.
Oh, just like them scoring against Michigan?
In other words, you could bet the first half. Yeah. And say, or they wouldn't let you bet the whole game at a 0.5 point, but you could bet either half or 0.5 point. So you could parlay a 0.5 point for 2 games in an exact first and second quarter and win. They never threatened. It was awful. It was terrible. How would you like to be one of their great defenders out there? You might as well just take your helmet off and run into the wall.
Valiantly battling to get the ball back, only to see them go 3 and out again.
Yes.
They shouldn't even leave the field. They should just crouch in the corner, ready to play again.
I wish Brian Ferentz would have got out on the field and just started beating up officials on that. Did you watch that game at all?
I watched a little bit of it. I didn't watch that much. It was not a good one.
They called this phony baloney. These replay officials think they're running the game now. This Hill's arm was moving forward, right?
Okay.
And the ball comes flying out. Well, they said, then they reviewed it, and the ball was dead. They blow the ball dead. And somebody from Michigan, nobody from Illinois Iowa was trying to get the ball. Somebody from Michigan picked it up, and then they go back and look at it, and the explanation is his hand was going forward, but his arm wasn't.
How's that? Doesn't the arm make the hand go forward?
Ferentz said, I'm not a physiologist, but I don't think that's possible.
No.
But why would you want to screw Iowa in that game when it's already 20-0 or something?
Don't need to. No need. Yeah.
But these guys that are up in this, when they went back and looked at the fair catch thing,
right,
with the Gophers, that wasn't what they were reviewing.
No, they were checking to see
if he stepped out of bounds or not. You can't just all of a sudden go, hey, I saw something else.
Yes.
You can't do that. It's stupid.
And Kirk Ferentz was still upset about that because they would have been a one-loss team without they would have been a one-loss team. Yeah.
They would have been the worst 11-1 team in history. And now they're going to go and just get killed. Who are they playing? Somebody good.
Yeah, somebody good because they're
terrible. Anyway, boy, the committee got itself in trouble not taking Florida State.
Yeah.
They just didn't have the funny thing is the chairman of this commission is the athletic director at NC State. and they ended up screwing the ACC.
Oh man, yeah.
So he obviously ESPN probably slipped a note under the door and say we want Alabama because the SEC, they're tied in with the SEC and everything.
Right.
I don't think there's any doubt that Alabama is a better team than Florida State, but what difference does that make? You got to go with what happened in the regular season. These guys lost twice, didn't they? Georgia and Texas, or didn't they play Georgia this year? They must have played.
Well, I think they only played them in the SEC title game. I think
They didn't
Alabama
play a regular season game. Okay, Texas beat them. Texas is their win. So, they went for the. It's funny how Florida State's no longer considered a glamour team. They were for years and years and years. Now, some teams in the ACC or some people in the ACC are a little bitter about them because a few months ago they said we're looking for a new league. Basically, they want to get into the SEC, Florida State. So they basically came out and announced it a few months ago. So it's maybe the ACC guys figured that are left behind figure we'll screw them. I don't know, but. It's hard to not take a 13-0 team
from a power conference.
Major conference.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
unbelievable. It's weird. This will all be.
That freshman quarterback could have started for Bethel, so for Florida State. Yeah. So I think that's part of the problem.
Yeah,
he was awful.
With the injury.
So I watched quite a bit of that game for some reason. I don't know why, but anyway, but we're off to revenge. I remember one of my favorite moments ever is I was at the Nebraska-Miami game at the Orange Bowl, which is it's the best college football game I ever saw when Nebraska went for 2 to win it, even though if they kicked the extra point, they're the national champions because they were, one of the greatest teams ever. And they go for 2 because Osborne says we should go out winning it. But way up in the corner of the Orange Bowl, they showed a guy holding a sign saying, "Avenge the Gotham Bowl," because the Gotham Bowl was something that was held in New York for about 3 years. And one of the first ones, Miami and Nebraska played in one, and Nebraska beat Miami, and the guy had a sign, "Avenge the Gotham Bowl." We got to avenge the 14-7 game.
We got our quarterback though. You see that they got the New Hampshire transfer.
Sounds like he can throw it, and he's an athlete too. He's got pretty good speed, so. He must have been fairly cheap by portal standards compared to what they're saying most of them play. I get a kick out of Matt Rule complaining how much quarterbacks are costing. Well, you took one from Georgia Tech last year. It's not everybody else's fault. You took the wrong guy. He couldn't pass. He went 0-3 in the end, and then you sat him down. He's the reason they Gophers lost or beat Nebraska because this quarterback.
Right.
So you go and take the wrong one. It is amazing, though, isn't it, Mike? I mean, the free agency of quarterbacks. They all have agents, and they're all like after their junior year, they're either going to the NFL or going to the portal.
Yeah,
they're not even if they're leaving better teams to take more money, to take money from these people. We've gone a long way from, we got to let the students have a chance to go buy their own hamburgers at McDonald's
right.
to being set for life. It's incredible how much they're spending on this thing. And as I say, what's that doing to other donations?
Yeah.
What's that do to your other donations? If you're going to spend all that money on football and to go out there and beat everybody up, beat all the Gopher donors up for football money, what about when you're trying to build a medical school or something?
Yeah.
You're beating up the donors so Phil Fleck can not go 5-7. I don't understand it.
I do I do imagine it'll be a long time, maybe ever, until another quarterback wins 33 games at Minnesota like Tanner Morgan did. That
Well,
era is over. That era
yeah.
is over. I mean, that was a special
Five.
circumstances there
Did he
with
start
COVID.
5 years? He started
Started
5
parts
years.
of 5 years, yeah, because he started the back half of 2018. Zach Anixted started the year as the starter, but then who was
Yeah.
Morgan?
And
And
now
19, and then part of the 20 was the shorter year, then 21 and 22. Yeah, he started parts of 5 years.
Zach Anistad, a superstar at Illinois State this year. He was fantastic.
It's crazy when I was like looking back at some of those 2017-18 Gophers teams. I did something on all the quarterbacks they've had. Like some of the guys that are like still around, like I should have known just because he's been here forever. But like Chris Ottman-Bell was on that 2017 roster.
Yes,
It's like what
right,
what is
right.
going on here?
Did I read that he might come back? Or
I don't
no,
know.
he can,
Ottman-Bell cannot come back. This was
he
his,
cannot.
this was
He's
his
one of the
last.
few that can't come back.
Yes.
Well, the Jackson kid, isn't he going to get?
He's coming back. Yeah, Daniel Jackson's coming back.
He's not going into the draft then. Huh?
The good
Isn't he
running
junior?
back, the good freshman running back is he's
He's
staying.
coming back. Yeah,
I
thought we couldn't get him.
Cole Kramer's going to be your bowl quarterback, but I don't know any more about that beyond that.
Now, good for him. He's hung in there for 4 years and never really got a chance. So that'll be good that he can play that game. I know Mike Grant's a huge fan of his. I talked to him a couple of times. I tried to do a column on him this spring and again this fall, but for some reason they have a hard time giving me 20 minutes of access by myself with somebody. So I don't know why. Maybe
you've been pretty good. You've been pretty good to them. You didn't make them the turkeys this year. I don't know.
We kind of people kind of took the end of the turkeys as it could have been our little, but that was it wasn't bad at all this year. But anyway, I kept saying. They called me. I called them on a Wednesday, somewhere before the spring game.
Yeah.
I said, "Can I get this guy and talk to him about hanging in there, true Gopher and all that?" They said, "Access stopped on Tuesday."
Yeah.
Access stopped on Tuesday for the spring game.
Yeah.
That's
not like it used to be. It's not like it used to be.
No. But now maybe if someone they're more fond of called them, maybe that one the case. But I finally gave up. So,
Patrick,
anyway,
a couple final thoughts here at the end.
Good luck to Cole, and get himself a win before he goes into the. I would think he's heading out into the business world or something. It's why would he want to transfer some AA school or something?
Yeah, I would. I don't know. Well, we'll see what he's up to. But you're right. I think he's graduating. I think he's getting. I think he's getting married. I think.
Yeah, we should mention Gopher basketball.
Yes, they lost to Ohio State. They lost to Ohio State. 36 for Dawson Garcia. He looked great.
He was great. Did you see a note that it's the most points ever scored by an opponent in that arena?
Really? I didn't see that, but that's a lot of points. 36 is a lot.
That was in Marcus's story that it's the most ever for an opponent. But here's the deal: Jamison Battle left, and he did a lot. But Jamison Battle left. He got pretty good NIL money. But he said that he wanted to go someplace where he had the best chance to play in the NCAA tournament for the first time. That team you're playing on pretty much stinks, Jamison, and they were 5-15 last year in the Big Ten. And I would be surprised if Ohio State finishes in the top 6 in the Big Ten. Yeah. So you won't be in the NCAA tournament.
I don't think so.
Jamison.
I don't think so.
They look bad. I mean, they were. They have a couple of. I mean, Jamison, and he can shoot it, and they have this guard who the Gophers couldn't stop. But it's not a very good team. So
no,
the Gophers will beat Nebraska Wednesday, though. I watched a little of Nebraska yesterday. They stink.
Okay.
So if you don't beat Nebraska, it's I would say might be a little early. But I think Ben's coaching for his job Wednesday. We're not going to have the Dan Munson pull the plug in the middle of the season, but he's definitely on double secret probation here. So
yeah, that reminds me of this kind of funny story. I was talking to Chris Atterbury the other day after, of course, they settled all their TV stuff. They got Corey Provis over on TV. Atterbury's doing the lead play-by-play on radio now. And I met him. He's a mutual friend of our friend Tom Linneman, and I met him. He was in town for his Twins interview, I think, after the Gophers-Clemson game. He went to the Gophers-Clemson game, after which Munson got fired in 2006. So I'm eating. For some reason I freelanced that game for a paper in South Carolina. The Clemson paper needed someone to do that game. I was free that night, so I did that game. Me and him and Tom go out for chicken wings after the game, and then 2 seconds later Munson gets fired. So we all bore witness to the end of the Dan Munson era. And you're right. I think the Ben Johnson era might not be far behind.
No, it's they're better than they've been, but they can't. They got to decide on a guard here. The guy, the transfer they got from Howard, he just likes to dribble. He dribbles around and makes. I don't know. Play the kid. Play Christie. You're not gonna. You're not going to go to the NCAA tournament or anything like that. So that's what I would do. I'd play the kid. So anyway,
Gopher women had a good win over Drake. Volleyball team is out. They got swept by Creighton. Getting to the second round isn't so bad for the way this year started, though.
Well, and Creighton's, they're getting a bunch of Minnesota kids every once in a while. You see the list of the stars, and Creighton's, in there, they don't have to spend money on football down there, so they're pretty. They're in the Big East, and when St. Thomas gets in the Big East in 5 years, they'll be a big rival of the top. Anyway, I was watching what game was I watching? I was watching the Creighton Nebraska game yesterday, and I said, "Gee whiz, how about that? Big screaming crowd to watch Nebraska play Creighton. What matchup could we possibly have for the Gophers for that to happen? Let's see. Is there any Catholic school around here you could bring in to play the Gophers? I guess not. We'd rather play Arkansas Pine Bluff and have 3,500. I knew you'd get me started on something before this show was over.
The Badgers and Marquette played the other day, too. Think about that.
Yes, fantastic rivalry. It's great. The Badgers beat them bloody.
Yes, they did.
That's Stephen Crowell from Minnesota has turned into a heck of a player.
Yeah.
And Nolan Winter, too. How they lost Nolan Winter, whose father is Trevor Winter and mother is Heidi Olhausen. How that happened, I have no idea. So, anyway.
Yeah. All right, Patrick. Well,
all right.
Appreciate it. Get ready for the Nick Mullins era. I think it's happening. I think they can't help. I think they can't help themselves. They want the safety and security of the boring backup. They're going to go that way.
I don't even know. I forgot who we playing next week.
We got to play the Raiders out in Vegas.
Oh man, they stink. So that'll be a good trip though. We should have a lot of drunken Minnesotans out there roaming the streets, should we? For that game, I would
probably
think.
travel better for that one than the Quick Lane Bowl. Let's say that.
Hey, we're the kings of the Quick Lane Bowl.
Who knows? Put it on the line. They're putting it on the line. Avenge that Bowling Green loss.
Bowling Green loss. That was a bad loss. All right.
Thanks, Pat. Bye-bye.